I thank the chair. Mr. Whitaker, good to see you. I enjoyed our meeting last week. And from that meeting, I understand that you're a private pilot. So does your experience as a private pilot in general aviation, does that help enhance your experience back from when you served as deputy administrator?
It did, Senator, and thank you for taking the time last week. It was an extremely valuable thing. It helped me really understand the system and appreciate what's at stake when you're up there in that thin tin can.
We spoke about basic med, and back in 2017, pilots of smaller aircraft could use an alternate medical certification program known as basic med. More than 70,000 pilots have used basic med to maintain their flying privileges. In March, FAA reported to Congress that pilots flying under basic med are just as safe as pilots with a third-class medical. So what are your thoughts on the basic med program?
Thank you, Senator. So I completed my basic med just a few weeks ago. I had gone through a regular medical examiner previously for the 2-year check. This time I did the basic med because I had a physical scheduled and tried it, printed out the form, took it to the doctor, took the online course that you required, which I actually thought was quite useful. So I thought it was a very clever efficiency that actually, in my view, yielded more information and was more useful to the pilot.
Very good. I'm so glad to hear your feedback on basic med. Now, you may remember this from your previous tenure at FAA, but if it were up to the FAA, basic med would have never happened. Despite several requests for third-class medical reform over more than 20 years, 2 decades, the FAA did not act until Congress mandated those reforms. So I bring this example up because many enabling regulations come from Congress in FAA reauthorization bills, and they have a deadline attached to them. Yet FAA routinely misses congressionally mandated deadlines for these new rules. My office analysis found that the FAA missed congressional rulemaking deadlines in the last 3 FAA reauthorization bills by an average of 543 days. Even more concerning, there are still 14 mandatory rulemaking stretching back over a decade to the 2012 reauthorization that FAA has not yet completed to this day. FAA also missed reporting deadlines by an average of 554 days, depriving Congress of crucial information needed to legislate and conduct oversight. Reports during your tenure as deputy administrator were 678 days late on average. If confirmed, what will you do to ensure that the FAA is meeting the deadlines that Congress places into law?
Thank you for the question, Senator. I will do everything I can to make sure that we are on schedule. I think rulemaking is a very frustrating thing from every perspective. It's highly regulated under the Administrative Procedures Act. It takes a long time. It's a frustration as we try to bring new entrants into the airspace and have to go through that onerous process, but I will do everything within my power and within the confines of that to move as quickly and communicate with this committee on the status of those.
Thank you. So I share your concern about maintaining FAA's global leadership in aviation safety and regulation. That position greatly benefits our domestic aviation industry and allows companies to pioneer the next generation of aviation technology. I'm proud that North Carolina is home to many of these companies, but in order to innovate, industry needs to know the rules of the road or the rules of the air. That goes back to the speed of new regulations. So what can Congress, so our end, what can we do to help FAA speed up those enabling regulations that are necessary for these new industries to grow?
I wish I had a good answer for that. Most of the review periods and the public comment periods are set by statute. I think we have power within the FAA and DOT and OMB to try to move that as fast as we can, and I would work those levers.
So I hope you hear in the question to you and the question about us as Congress, you hear a desire for us to work together. So if successful, I hope that we can continue to work together. So ever since the Wright brothers first flew at Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, America has been a world leader in the aviation industry. The FAA sets the gold standard for aircraft certification standards and aviation safety. I'm glad to see the Biden administration finally put forward a qualified nominee to fill a vacancy that has lasted over 550 days. Mr. Whitaker, if you're confirmed, I look forward to working with you to implement the upcoming FAA reauthorization and address the many challenges facing the aviation industry today. Thank you. I yield back.
Thank you, sir.